Welcome, my dear guests, to the captivating expanses of my story. Chapter 18. The Senate of the Kasach Empire erupted in a dazzling glow as the windows expanded and the rising sun's light flowed into the hall. Rita Griffin, the outstanding scientist, took decisive steps ahead of the senators, a triumphant glimmer in their eyes. My honorable senators, this day will be a milestone in the annals of our empire, she proclaimed in a voice that trembled with excitement. The Department of Social and Social Studies has finally begun to uncover the secrets of the neo-mercantilist theories that will reveal the key to the free market trade policy. A crescendo of agitated rumbling permeated the room as the senators, with increasing awareness, perceived the enormous scope of this breakthrough discovery. With the implementation of this theory, continued Rita, surrounded by a mysterious aura in her voice, we will be able to rebuild the foundations of our economy in a revolutionary way. A planned economy which is no longer subject to the unpredictable caprioles of the market but which can be carefully managed by our skillful hand. A collective breath passed through the crowd, as relieved sneezing as a wave surrounded itself. The uncertain times of the free market were finally over. The economic destinies of the people would now rest firmly in the hands of the mighty empire. A new era of stability and control began. But not all were filled with Rita's enthusiasm. Kate Brock, the conservative admiral, skeptically put her forehead in folds. "Are you sure this path is the right one?" she answered with a shudder of anxiety. "The economy is subject to no rules that can be easily predicted, and the greed of individuals cannot be curtailed." Rita's smile radiated confidence as she spoke her words. "Don't worry, my simulations unquestionably reveal that we will profit immensely with a planned economy. Trust me, this step is essential for our unstoppable ascension." Ultimately, Kate Brock reluctantly gave in, still plagued by the last doubts. But the spark of hope had already caught fire. Soon, the empire would cut off the chains of the free market. In the infinite vastness of the cosmos, the first space fleet approached the glacial system with majestic elegance, ready to continue its unstoppable journey of conquest. On board the mighty Justice, the radiant flagship, the space fleet, Admiral Paulina Romero let her gaze wander furiously over the enemy ships, forming like a dark cloud in front of the imposing star base. The hour of retribution was near, and it would strike with iron determination. "Status report." Paulina's voice sounded through the room as she confidently called the navigator. "The enemy ships appeared on our screens," the answer reflected. 12 large cruisers and 6 destroyers form a spherical formation as a barrier to your star base in the glacial system," Paulina affirmed with a slight nibble, the remarkable fighting group spreading before her. An armada of scalable size, but for the battle-tested First Space Fleet, this was nothing that it could not cope with. "Immediately, as soon as we have reached the smallest distance, let the rocket lanterns untie their loads," commanded Paulina with iron determination. "The cruisers are of the highest priority, while the destroyers are secondary targets for now. We will unstoppably open our way to the base and thus fight for the sector." "With the utmost respect, Admiral," greeted the arms officer with an impressive gesture. Paulina stretched her shoulders as the precious minutes of silence passed unstoppably. Soon, the storm of devastation would come upon them. But she was determined, ready to stand the hell. With a thundering thunder, the shields of justice awakened to life and unleashed a real hail of burning bullets, which fell on the enemy with lethal precision. Like comets of unimaginable destructive force, the rays cut through the darkness of the universe and struck the enemy ships with a destructive effect beyond imagination. Immediately, the Crusaders responded with a devastating fire, but the unshakable shields of justice stood firm. With a mixture of triumph and satisfaction, Paulina followed the spectacle of an enemy ship breaking apart after another in an infernal dance of burning fireballs. "Go on!" cried Paulina with a thundering voice over the anesthetic grief of the explosions. "Let them feel what we have to offer with full courage." With relentless determination, justice passed through its paths like an unstoppable storm, wiping over the surprised defenders and leaving a picture of absolute destruction. The once proud cruisers of the cult quickly became nothing more than widening clouds of debris while justice unwaveringly paved its way to the base. No obstacle could stop her, for she was an unstoppable force, paving her way through the universe. Paulina settled in her majestic command seat as the devastating remnants of the once proud enemy space fleet slowly pushed through the infinite universe. The glacial system, once a haven of cult, was now finally subjected to the unwavering grip of the glorious empire. On the glittering surface of Glacia, the brave ground troops, under the fearless leadership of General Nadine Heimer, made a determined step toward the fortified main settlement. With a stoic serenity unique only to the true hero, Nadine turned her eyeglass to the scene. She watched with a sharp gaze how the cult desperately sought to strengthen its barricades and prepared for the forthcoming street battles. A battle of unimaginable hardness marked, but Nadine knew deep inside her that victory was inevitable. It was only a matter of time before the glorious flag of the Empire would blow high above the ruins of the cult. Let the siege machinery be put in position. Nadine commanded with a quiet but determined voice. With a methodical precision, she put the massive guns in position while snipers took their strategic positions on surveys. When the preparations were completed, Nadine announced with a disturbing determination, "Unleash the purest fire on the unholy fortress of the cult." Thunderstorms of unimaginable vigor pervaded the dark streets as the deadly floors exploded with the eardrums, turning the once proud buildings into a pile of debris and ashes. Panic screams ripped through the air like a painful sound, penetrating Nadine's ears as the desperate civilian population fled into the protective bunkers in a desperate attempt to escape the secure demise. But Nadine, a warrior of iron determination, was not intimidated by the apocalyptic scene. With a steel mind that gave no emotions, she watched with a blind eye the unstoppable collapse of the once insurmountable lines of defense of the fanatical unis. With majestic grace, a small army of warriors rose and raised a blinding white flag over the destroyed remnants. A triumphant noise escaped Nadine's lips as she overlooked the scene. The cult, which once resisted so fiercely, was now in ruins. Without hesitation, she ordered the end of the bombing and sent her troops to take control of the area. In the evening, Nadine found herself in the captured command headquarters, her eyes lost toward the distance. Through the window, she could observe the Imperial soldiers' busy movement on the streets, but a frightened figure passed by from time to time, seeking protection and security. A silent whisper escaped her lips. The war had demanded its tribute, not only from the brave fighters but also from the innocent souls trapped in the shadow of violence. But she found consolation in the idea that a new era of peace and prosperity would begin under the Empire's rule. Through the infinite vastness of the cosmos, the majestic First Space Fleet advanced unmistakably, its powerful spacecraft crossing interstellar space, eventually reaching the mysterious Iota system. There, in the uncharted depths of the star system, they once again encountered an enemy armada whose ships formed threateningly. But Justice, a battle-tested bulwark of destruction, and its faithful companions approached unstoppably like a devastating storm. When the battle peaked, the Iota system became an actual cemetery of space debris. Paulina, the brave warrior, leaned back with a satisfied smile while the navigator calculated the course to the next target with ice-cold precision. Only a few systems separated them from bringing this sector entirely under the Empire's control. The power of the Imperial armed forces would continue unstoppably, and Paulina was a decisive figure in this battle for the galaxy. Meanwhile, in the Magnus system, a colonial ship floated majestically, its metal flanks shining in distant starlight. It was a moment of immeasurable importance when the spacecraft's locks opened, and the brave settlers set foot on the icy ground of the moon Magnus IIb. The cold of the hostile place bit their lungs, but their hearts were filled with burning hope. They named their new home planet Siberia as a sign of their determination to build a flourishing colony under the harshest conditions. The settlers were not ordinary people, no, they were pioneers whose minds were filled with boundless determination and unwavering faith in a better future. They were prepared to accept deprivation and effort to make their vision of Siberia a reality. With every blow of the hammer and every step on these icy rocks, they pushed the first domes and tunnel systems forward as if they were shaping the planet itself. The icy cold could not quench their passion, because they knew that they were part of something greater. Siberia would flourish like a marvelous oasis amid the icy vastness of the universe. And so they began to leave their mark on the distant moon as a testimony to their unshakable will and infinite hope. Siberia would become a glowing pearl in the darkness of the galaxy, a colony that would fill the hearts of people with astonishment. The history of Siberia was only in its beginnings, but it would be eternal in the annals of mankind. It is a story of courage, determination, and unwavering faith in a better future. A story that would break the boundaries of the possible and touch the hearts of people forever. The halls of the Senate radiated an atmosphere of omnipotent power. Empress Savia had convinced the last remaining supporters of the old-fashioned forces of the indispensable need for expansion to the Senate. "My honorable senators," declared Savia solemnly as her gaze permeated the assembled circle. For an eternity, significant parts of our society were excluded from the structures of power. But now is the time to change this. A fierce applause broke out, even from the most conservative traditionalists. Even Kasach, the indignant inquisitor, bowed her head with appreciation. The Senate is to be expanded by 100 seats, continued Savia, filling her voice with a mixture of determination and passion. It is time for us to welcome representatives from all segments of our population and interest groups in our holy halls. Only through this expansion can we see our glorious empire's true unity and strength. The words of the divine Empress Savia sounded through the magnificent hall, while the assembled members looked at the Senate. Their appeal was like a spark that lit the flames of hope in the hearts of those present. The idea that everybody should have one voice and be heard was like a revolutionary thought that spread unstoppably in people's minds. Once a place of power and influence for the few, the Senate began to change. Members realized that the time of the single decider was over and that it was time to acknowledge and respect the voices of the people. They felt the pressure of change and knew that they could no longer ignore what the people wanted. The chosen representatives of the High Council embraced each other with radiant faces as the audience of this breakthrough event rushed like a cosmic fire through the empire's vastness. Finally, the political fabric would unfold and open the way for a new era of modernization. But all of a sudden, when an urgent message reached the Senate, the delayed ceremony was severely interrupted. The deep space communications systems had received the vastness of space with an automatic emergency call from the curator station in the Ghostly system. Once a haven of knowledge and knowledge, the ancient research facility had been invaded by an enemy force and had been entirely grounded. A striking silence lay over the walls as members processed the devastating news. Who dared attack such an important and neutral station? The clues inevitably pointed to the mysterious sweet purifiers, but absolute certainty remained. Savia rose from her majestic throne with a heavy heart as if he were a burden she was reluctant to carry. An aura of mourning surrounded her imperial appearance, as she formed with a busy voice the words that sounded like a dark echo through the room. This is undoubtedly a dark hour in which the shadows of despair seem to lie over us, she said with melancholy and determination. But we must not let the darkness overpower us, for the fire of hope still lays in our hearts. Her words were like a gentle consolation for the souls of those who had walked the path of science with unwavering devotion. She thought of those brave researchers who had put their lives in the service of knowledge, and her thoughts remained for a moment with the lost heroes. May their souls rest in peace while we honor their legacy and continue their work, she added with respect and determination. Because in the darkness of the night, sometimes a sparkling star shines, showing us the way and reminding us that the truth is still hidden in the depths of the galaxy. With these words, Savia left the throne hall and set out to honor the legacy of the lost heroes. She knew it would be difficult, but she was determined to continue her work and bring the truth to light. An era of grief and deep reflection began when the shadows of despair fell on the hearts of men. But amid this dark hour, a new thrust of action awakened, which, like a spark of hope, lit the flames of resistance. Because this devastating attack, which shook the world at its core, could not remain unanswered. The determined raised themselves from the ashes of destruction, their eyes filled with an irrevocable fire, illuminating the way of vengeance and justice. In the depths of their souls, they swore an oath that had the power to penetrate the darkness and make the light of freedom shine again. In the infinite vastness of the cosmos, far from any civilization, the first space fleet advanced unstoppably. With each system they conquered, the resistance of the inferior enemies, who could not defend themselves against their superior weapons and tactics, vanished. The once proud Avian University, passionate disciples of a false prophet, were forced to retreat further and further as the majestic blue banner with the shining star eagle continued to move forward. Soon, only a handful of systems would remain in the former domain of the cult of Fair. With a grim smile on her lips, Paulina went into the galactic map study. One last devastating blow and this war would be over, a glorious victory in tangible proximity. Meanwhile, on the home planet, the zealous researchers stumbled tirelessly at the limits of technological progress to unstoppably expand the Empire's undisputed supremacy. Their efforts focused mainly on creating groundbreaking alloys and spaceship armor, the development of which was of the utmost urgency. With a proud chest, Archon, the unwavering chief scientist of the Reichsakademie, presented his latest findings to an anticipated audience. His words were heard through the venerable chamber as he spoke with reverence and enthusiasm. My honorable ladies and gentlemen, it is an extraordinary pleasure for me to announce to you that our high-ranking team has succeeded in developing a breakthrough durable alloy. This tank will represent an almost indestructible protective barrier and give us tremendous technological advancement. The chief scientist's words generated an electrifying tension in the air while the attendees held up their seats, fascinated by the possibilities that now opened up to them. The future seemed tangibly close, and the world would never be the same again. A loud applause filled the room while the attendees stared with respect at the shimmering artifacts. Finally, the long-awaited dream of unbeatable star fortresses was close to realization. The mysterious chamber was stirred up as preparations for the reception of the chosen newcomers were at their peak. The air was filled with an electrifying expectation as new offices rose from nowhere, files were distributed like an invisible hand, and staff were trained in the secret arts. Myra Gupta, the sector governor, rushed tirelessly from one mysterious meeting to the next to make the impossible possible and complete everything on time. The arrival of the new-fashioned MEPs is imminent, she reminded her followers. It is up to us to prepare everything to the smallest detail. For they are the living embodiment of the future glory of our empire. And while exhaustion had already left unmistakable marks, they proceeded steadfastly into the deep of the night with a graceful smile because they knew they were at an epochal turning point. It was the moment the entire population had been waiting for with ardent longing. It was a triumphant moment that filled people's hearts with indescribable joy. Under the thundering applause and the joyful cry of the masses, the elected members entered the magnificent chamber solemnly. An impressive assembly of individuals who could not be more different, united in their determination to direct the fate of the empire. Craftsmen whose skilled hands shaped the foundations of civilization, artists whose creative masterpieces enchanted the spectators' senses, scientists whose groundbreaking insights broadened the boundaries of understanding, and engineers whose brilliant constructions advanced technological development were all represented here. A colorful blend of talents and abilities that formed the foundation of the empire and made it a genuinely holistic entity. Myra, a woman of extraordinary integrity and wisdom, could not hide her captivated smile. Tears of pride glittered in her eyes as she absorbed the historic moment. Finally, after many years of waiting and hope, the empire assumed its perfect form. It was a milestone in history, a turning point that filled the future with endless possibilities. The empire's establishment resulted from the tireless efforts and sacrifices of many brave men and women. Now Myra could see the fruits of her work and felt a deep gratitude for all those who had helped to reach this moment of completion. Meanwhile, in the majestic citadel of the Imperial Apple, Empress Savia had withdrawn for a final consultation with her most faithful followers. With a significant mime, they listened to the latest news from the front, reflected in the halls. The head of the intelligence service, with a touch of concern on his face, announced, "The Zui, that mysterious species, continue to be hidden in the shadows. Their motives and plans are beyond our knowledge. But their technological possibilities prepare us with a worrying fear." "A truly frightening circumstance," murmured Aaron with a dark mime. "We must maintain our vigilance. Strengthen the patrols along the border areas and notify immediately if you encounter anything suspicious." "With the utmost reverence, Your Highness," replied the generals, lowering their heads synchronously. Savia Heimer stared quietly into the distance, where the majestic towers of the fortress shone in a tender, pink glow. In those groundbreaking vastnesses lay an unknown threat whose secrets were still hidden. But the Empire would remain vigilant and fight against this danger with unwavering determination. The majestic First Space Fleet unstopped its galactic maneuvers and thus laid the foundation for a triumphal victory in this sector. As the universe holds its breath, the once flourishing colonies and remote outposts of the fanatical unis have now collapsed like a card house, one after the other. Platform of the futuristic observatory, high above the city's sparkling lights. A mysterious aura permeated the evening sky, as Paulina looked into the infinite vastness of the galaxy. The stars seemed to merge in a distant dance, as they tried to uncover the secrets of the cosmos. Her heart was beating with excitement as she perceived the beauty and magnitude of the galaxy. Paulina felt small and humble in the face of the infinite vastness that stretched before her. She was fascinated by the magic and mystery of the galaxy. Hey, I would be happy if you could give my video a like, leave a comment and subscribe to my channel to stay up to date.